Hello, everyone, and welcome to your weekly dose of truth tarot. It is going into the second week of May. That is May 8th to the 14th. We're going to have Mother's Day coming up this week. I think that's May 10th, right? And let's see. We had something to do with creativity this month. And I've been thinking about that a lot and seeing where are we going to go with that. So maybe we'll ask a little bit more detailed question on, what are we going to do with creativity? Where does it need to go? What do we need to focus on? So let's see. Let's pull the first card for focus. So focus is on whatever difficulties we're having emotionally. So that's going to obviously give us something creative to work with. If we have some emotional setbacks, difficulties, repressions, something that's trying to free itself up, that's definitely going to be an influence on creativity. So we could do several things. One is notice that if we're trying to do something creative, what emotions are standing in the way and how do we work through those emotions? For example, if you've been feeling angry, you may notice that things might be moving in a haphazard direction. So every time you go to do something creative, your frustration, anger will get in the way and just kind of get you to focus on whatever the anger is dealing with. So I know, a lot of times people say, well, when you have a strong emotion, it's a great time to create a work of art. That is true, but I would say it would have to be a nice, clean emotion. If it's contracted with worries and with anger towards someone, well, maybe anger towards someone, you could paint something about that person, I'm sure. But it is where there's a nice, clear anger that can run through the body and help you to bring something to the surface. So there's differences between your emotions. There's the pure natural emotion of the body mind that's going to help you draw. Then there's just being plain old angry and resentful, and that's going to circulate the anger, and it's not going to go anywhere. It's just going to go in a circle. So whether you're creating something for work, whether you're starting a new project, whether you're working at your home, whether you're doing your garden, whatever it is, drawing a painting, it's a good time to sort through your emotions. Things like anger, sadness, grief, fear, worry, and get to know them. Look and see where jealousy, resentment, shame, all of those things can contract and keep you down, especially insecurities, right? Jealousy is a definite indicator of insecurities. Jealousy lets us know, oh, I've got a fear and it's arousing my insecurity. So it's a good time to look at that insecurity and start to work with it and kind of go, well, wait a minute. Because there's something to be said about good jealousy, where you see that somebody wants something and that you want something someone has, and it motivates you to go and build it for yourself, right? Do it for yourself. Whether it's getting in shape, whether it's a photograph, whatever it is you want to create, whether it's somebody's got a really good business, it can motivate you to go and say, well, why don't I go make a business like that? Why don't I do things that will get me to move forward and do those things? Ask a lot of questions. Even ask the person that you're feeling jealous of. Find them and go, okay, what is it that I could do that I could take a step in the direction of attaining what it is that I would like to have. So that's great. But then there's jealousy, which then goes out and gets sent out as a resentment as well, or there's enviousness that will will take you down. It'll take you down. It'll lead you down the wrong path. So that's something to look at. Shame too. Look at where you have shame that comes up and start to work through it. This is going to really help you to be creative, and also finding creative ways to deal with those things. That's really wonderful as well. Okay, so let's see what else it's going to tell us for. Okay, so this tells us that our creativity, if we've got these emotions that are causing us difficulty, they do need to break apart. Because this can go in two directions, right? The tower can be wonderful, where you're breaking down all the old and then you give birth to the new, or it can cause you to break down what you have. You're going in the wrong direction. Let's see where this week is leading us. It's a whole world that I'm focusing on. So, how will we do? And this says the star. So the cards definitely have faith in us as humans, that we can actually achieve what we want to achieve by going through, like looking at our emotions, breaking them down, and finding that star. The star is usually, there's one way of looking at the star. You wish upon the star for something that you want. You make that honest wish. But then there's also playing the starring role within your life. And that's not a narcissistic role. It's understanding you play the starring role in your life. And other people play a starring role in their lives. And you participate in their play at times. In your life, you're the star. Even when you're playing a secondary role in someone else's life, you're still the star in your life. So that is complex. But when you start to want to play the starring role in someone else's life, well, that's a stunted development. That means that you're in a place where you think you're the only one who has thoughts about the world and thoughts about themselves and thoughts about what they want to achieve, right? You end up being that person who thinks you're the only one who has thoughts and no one else has thoughts or desires or things that they want. You just think that they're pawns in your play. So we don't want that to happen. We don't want those kinds of things, because it basically determines a lack of success in relationships and a lack of success in your endeavors. So you want to understand where you play your starring role, and then when you play, even when you play a secondary character, yeah, you're starring in your life and that's the role you're playing, but you're not taking the role away from someone else in their lives. How does that work? Well, somebody has a birthday party, you're not the one who's going to receive the cake, right? There's a good example. Everyone's going to bring presents to the birthday person, whoever's having that birthday. And it's not about you, but you are in your life bringing your gift to that person, bringing your smile, bringing your love, bringing your caring, being part of the party. And that is part of what you're going to write as your chapter in that life, where you can think about many, many books that you've read, and the star isn't always centered everywhere. They can be part of something. And yes, you could be listening to their thoughts, which is what you're doing in your own life. You're listening to your thoughts. But when you read a book, you can often have the characters and their thoughts being portrayed as well in the novel. And this is the thing, we don't know what other people's thoughts are, but we do know they have thoughts. People make this mistake, right? They often think they're the only ones who have thoughts and everybody should read their thoughts. Well, you're not reading other people's thoughts, are you? You're not, you think you are, but you don't know what they're thinking. You can assume what they're thinking, you can estimate what they're thinking, you can get close to what they're thinking, but you would have really no idea what they're thinking. So what you can do is just slowly kind of figure out where those emotions can take you astray from being actually the star in your own life, and then having those relationships with others where they're the star in their lives. And there is no indicator where you can't make that wish, right? You can wish upon a star to say, I wish. This is where prayer, gratitude, um, uh, that very earnest, innocent type of wish that we make. If you're making a wish with a lot of intention behind it, that that could be narcissistic or lack that innocence of a child, well, usually that doesn't work out very well. What does work out really well is if you're making an earnest wish, like I would like to see my creativity come to fruition, and appreciate others' creativity and my own. Something, it doesn't have to be that kind of wish, but I often think about everyone else and myself. Like, if I'm going to wish for benefits in my life, I also wish for and pray for the benefits of everyone else, or at least that I could bring them those benefits. So that's just a shift in attitude, bringing hope, joy, um, abundance, gratitude, generosity of spirit to others as well. Kind of like when Geppetto in Pinocchio carves his little wooden puppet, that carving he wishes would be turned into a real boy. And that is for himself, obviously, but every step that he takes once Pinocchio comes to life is to support Pinocchio so that he could become the real boy and go through his journey and learn to be a good boy. And yeah, that's what we kind of need to do. We're always in some way a wooden head, and our little wooden head needs to kind of wake up and realize there's a lot more to life than our own little internal dialogues. It often gets me to think of what are all the bad pieces of advice I've heard in my life. You can live your dream. One really terrible, you know, um, piece of advice, like, oh, you can do whatever you want in life and live your dream. You can get there, just go off and do it. That's just terrible advice. Be yourself. Another piece of really, really horrible advice. You can look at it two ways. I often look at it the masculine way, whereas be yourself. No, I don't want you to be yourself. I want you to brush your hair, take a shower, come out and wear proper clothing, don't smell, and be presentable. Brush your teeth. I don't really want you to be yourself the way you feel like being at home. Let's say some people, um, can go out in the world and say, "Oh, well, I'm just doing whatever I want." No, I don't want you to do whatever you want. I don't want you to be rude in the world. I would like to be pleasant. It doesn't matter if you feel bad during the day, whether you feel bad or not. It's too bad you feel bad. I mean, if it's very extreme and it's difficult, yes, that can happen. I know being in pain can be a terrible thing, but try your best to put on the best you can do at any given moment, so that we can relate to each other. At home, you could go and just be your slovenly self and your nasty self if you want to be. But in the world, no, don't be yourself. No, terrible piece of advice. Very narcissistic piece of advice too. And another one is just let go. Yeah, thank you very much. Yes, thank you very much. That's so appreciated as advice. I remember I was 16 or 17, and I went for a treatment. I even forget what kind. It was like an energy sort of treatment to help me with a muscle pain, and the woman just said, "Just let go, just let go." And it's like, yeah, well, that's why I'm here. If I could let go, I would have already done so, and I don't need your help. That's pretty obvious. So just let go. Wow, ridiculous. Sometimes you need to smack someone over the head with it and kind of go, you're holding on, and it's something you do need to let go of. But just let go. Just let go is doesn't always work. And yeah, there's a couple of other bits of advice. Maybe you could, you could share, just write in the comments, what are some really bad pieces of advice you've gotten that are just so vague and ridiculous. All right. Have a good day and a good week, and see you next week. Bye.